All right, fans, here today with my son Richard Rush behind the camera. I'm John Rush, and this is the new 2017 Volkswagen Beetle Convertible Dune Edition. As you can tell, they've got the color combination on this particular model. And by the way, the Dune comes in this gold. It also comes in a white and a black. Now, this gold is kind of a takeoff of when I was a kid. Richard wouldn't remember this, but when I was a kid, there was lots of Dune buggies, things like that. They were typically, a lot of them were a gold heavy metal flake color, and that's kind of where they got the design for this car. So let's walk around it, give you a few things that are going on with the car itself. The Dune does have some special features to it. Richard's showing you right now. It's a little bit higher off the ground, so it's got raised suspension. It's got a larger rear spoiler, which we'll get to in just a minute. It's got some special things on the interior, which we'll also talk about. LED lights, and as you can see, it's got this black wraparound, which you can see coming around the fender, coming down the side. Just gives it a lot different look. I'll try to stay out of the light there, get the shadows away. It just gives the car a more masculine look, and again, a bigger back spoiler. And keep in mind the convertible. So the roofline on the convertible is actually lower than the coupes, which gives the car a really, really good low stance. I like the way the car looks, frankly. And this car in the area that it competes in, so you know, you're thinking Mini Cooper, you're thinking Fiat. Nothing against those other cars, but frankly, this is a much more fun car, I think, to drive. Richard totally agrees. We're both in unison on that. I think we're a little bit partial to this because my wife actually owned a Beetle for a number of years back in the early 2000s when they first came out. It was a great car. We had a blast with it. She went pretty much anywhere with that car. Same 1.8 liter turbo engine that's in this car. They, of course, have updated that now, direct injection. The one thing about this car, you can only get it in an automatic transmission. So here's some of the other key features. $30,000, $215,000, so $32,15, right at 30 grand for this car, delivered. Some of the things I've done on the convertible too, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. It does have stronger stiffness throughout the entire body. A-pillar, B-pillars. It's actually got, believe it or not, an anti-rollover protection, or not anti-rollover, but if you roll over, there's protection for it, like an airbag, where it actually has bars that shoot up to give you protection in the case of a rollover. Really some cool features they've done to make the car very safe. We'll talk about trunk space in just 1 minute, but here's one of the things about this car that I really enjoyed, and it's hard to even describe this as we're out for a test drive, which we'll do in just a minute. This car with the cloth top, still extremely quiet. Even at 70, 75 miles an hour down the road, it still has a very, very quiet interior. And the one thing I did notice about this car, you do not feel like you're driving a convertible. And some of you are saying, well, John, what do you mean by that? Well, typically because a convertible has no roof structure to help out in the rigidity of the body, you can just tell you're driving a convertible. They tend to just feel a little looser. I don't know how else to say that. The inside, the body, it just feels a little looser. I will say on this particular car, you don't feel that at all. So Volkswagen, you did a great job adding rigidity to this car, and this car is more rigid, 20% actually more rigid than the previous generation of convertibles. So with that, while we're back here, let's just get right into the trunk. It's got a little lever, you pop it up. You can also do it with the key fob. Now, one thing about the convertible Beetle you'll notice is trunk space, and it's hard with our lighting, trunk space is the same. Top up, top down, all the same, doesn't make any difference. Now, one thing in this car which kind of takes up some of the trunk space, and you wouldn't always have this, is it does have a nice boot system that actually goes over the top of the back. So when you fold the top down, you can put the boot on it, gives it a nice clean look. There is a pop-up windscreen here also that's built in. That's an option that actually comes up, gives you a little bit of protection when you do have the top down. You know, not a ton of room in the back. Seats do fold down where you can actually pass through. I believe they do. Yeah, they pass down. Now, one thing about the convertible, even with the seats passing down, because of the way the top and the storage for it, you do not have the same capacity in the back of it as you would a normal Beetle. So something you'll have to go out and look at, check it for yourself. Frankly, most Beetle owners, you're not putting a lot of luggage and things like that in the back anyways. It's typically more of a commuter car, fun car to drive, sporty car, and the like. So as long as, you know, big trunk space isn't a factor for you, this is a great car. In fact, it's a car we really enjoy driving, and one that's going to be hard to give back. Tell you what, let's get around the front. We'll hop into the interior, and I think what I'll do is I'll hop in and I'll show you how the top actually goes down. And real quick, 9.5 seconds to stow, 11 seconds to raise, and you can do that up to 31 miles an hour. I'll show you that next. All right, folks, I'm now in the interior. Real quick, I'm going to show you how the top actually comes down. And we've got that side window rolled down, but it would automatically come down on its own as you actually go to put the top down. So Richard will step back. I'll actually do the top down mechanism, show you how it all works. So it automatically rolls the windows down, pops the top up, stows it in the back, and I think I'll climb out real quick and just show you as you look around the back. Again, because of the way this works, you do have that ability to take that boot system that I showed you earlier in the trunk, which again, the trunk will still come up with the top down, but this boot system would then go on top of this back here, and you could actually hide all of the mechanism away, you know, for a longer trip, or if you're gonna have the top down for a length of time, just make it look really, really nice. But we'll just leave the top down to finish out the rest of the interior, and I'll tell you what I'll do, instead of even climbing in, let me just kind of stand out here and show you a couple of things. It might actually be easier to do it that way. As you can see, there is a little bit of room in the back seat. There's not a ton of room. Easy to get in and out of. You can just climb in and out, but I'm not gonna climb in back here. There's not a ton of room. Again, we've owned one of these in the past. It's enough for some kids to put them in the back seat. Two big adults, two full-size adults, I should say. It's really, really cramped. This really is a two-person car with the ability to put a couple of small children, even car seats and such. It's just, there's just not enough forward room in here to really make that work properly. Again, that's not what you're buying this car for in the first place. One thing about the Dune Edition, and Richard, if you can get this, you'll notice on this color only, you'll see the yellow piping, the yellow piping in the seats, and it's a leatherette material. Now, if you get the white or the black color, it's all black on the inside. You do not get this yellow piping when you go to those other colors. So this particular interior offset and the color in here is unique to this particular color of the Dune Beetle itself. Other than that, we've done another Beetle review in the past as far as all of the communication stuff goes, the nav, all of that stuff. That stuff is all pretty standard. It does come with Android. Richard, what do they call it?
Android Auto and then Apple CarPlay.
Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, which you can tell who uses more of that. Richard would be the one using more of that than I would be. I get in the car, hook up my Bluetooth phone, and honestly, away I go, and I'm a happy camper. So as long as it's got that, it's great. There is a power port back here in the back with one single cup holder. The one down thing about Beetles, and I've complained about these ever since we owned our own, if you look at this front, these two cup holders, if you put anything in this second cup holder, unless it's really, really short, you cannot put the console down because it hits the cup. So you can put one up here that's tall, no problem, but you can see here, it's got to be a fairly short cup to be able to use the center console. You can flip it up, put a cup in there, you know, drink in there, not a big deal, but just remember, you've got to have that ability to do that by raising this to make that happen, so you lose the armrest here. There is a little bit of a console where you can put your phone or something like that in there, but that's about it. There is a double glove compartment on that side, small door pockets on the side which aren't doing much. Outside of that, that's pretty much the standard when it comes to the interior of the Beetle. They've done a great job. The Beetle looks beautiful on the inside as well as I think it does on the outside. I love the new look, the way it's more masculine. I like that, frankly. That's just me. Tell you what though, let's go take a quick ride. All right, folks, gonna take a drive. We've got the top down for the moment, and Richard's in the front seat because there's no way I can get him in the back seat. It's just not enough room. Again, the yellow piping on the steering wheel, or I should say yellow stitching. There's yellow around the gauges, and I say yellow. What's the official color of this, Richard?
Sandstorm yellow.
Sandstorm yellow. I call it gold flake metallic. Whatever. Call it whatever you want to. I really don't care. By the way, it's a color people either love or hate, and what I have found is women hate it, and most men seem to like it. That's the opinion that I've got from people that have actually been looking at the car. So just a side note. It does have a nice backup camera system in it, I will say that, where it gives you the ability to even know, like radar-wise, what's around you. So as I back up over to this other curb, you can see it even starts to beep until you're getting close to things. And it does have the grid lines built in. They're not dynamic, but they are built in. So it's kind of a cool thing. It does tell you what's going on around the car, and the radar part of it works, or the parking sensors work really well. So let's take a quick drive. Again, automatic only in this car. 24 and 31 miles to the gallon, I believe. And in our Beetle that we had even back in the 2000s, it was nothing for my wife to average, 32 miles to the gallon. We've averaged 34 in this car. So you can tell a car does really well mileage-wise. Now, we're going to roll just the side windows real quick. I am under 31 miles an hour, so I could put the top up even as we're driving. What I'll say is, even with the top down, it's not super noisy in here, and I don't even have the windscreen in the back up at all. So, car works fabulous. It's a fun car to drive. This is a car that we are heavily considering buying again, if that tells you anything and what I feel about the car. So my wife owned one roughly 15, about 15 years ago, and owned it for about 5 years. So 10 years ago we owned one. And I will tell you right now that it's a car that we actually like. She enjoyed driving it. You get a lot of comments when you drive one of these. It's a fun car to drive. Now, is it a family car? No, it's not. As I said a little bit ago, there's just not enough room in the back seat to make this even a four-person car. My wife and I, no kids at home anymore. It works great for that, or somebody commuting back and forth, high mileage, good looks. It's a lot of fun. It's just like the old Beetles and why they sold so many of them all those years, and they've done it again. So, Volkswagen, I feel like this is a home run. I believe Richard feels like it's a home run because we've talked about it enough. This car on the convertible side, and I'll tell you what, we didn't have a convertible the last time. I would get a convertible this time. I like the looks of it. I like the lower roof line. I like some of the things they've done with it. I don't care about the trunk space being diminished. That part's not a big factor to us as a family. I would buy the convertible just because you get this. And on a Colorado blue sky day, Richard, show them what the blue sky in Colorado looks like on a nice September day. It's gorgeous. That's why you live in Colorado. So, in owning a convertible in Colorado, another reason why I would own one is because we do live in the great state of Colorado. So nothing against you folks that don't, but it's great. So with that, go check this car out at your local VW dealer. When you're there, tell them John and Richard Rush from Drive Radio sent you.